The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I am Christina Morris, and I will serve as your administrator for the next hour. You have joined us for our Gaming in Crisis, the Path Back webinar series. We are excited to have an expert panel to present this information for you today. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping items. The contents of this presentation are presented for general informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice. You should not consider any information provided to be legal advice and should not act upon any such information without seeking professional counsel. Use of this material or your attendance at this seminar does not create an attorney-client or any other relationship with the moderators, speakers, or panelists. I would now like to take a moment to thank the state associations from Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, and Nevada for coming together to help promote the webinar event to their tens of thousands of employees impacted by the world's issues. I would also like to thank the Innovation Group, Regulatory Management Counselors, and Global Gaming Business Magazine for their combined talents and expertise to present a webinar series designed to help gaming companies, operators, manufacturers, supplier executives, employees, investors, and consumers and customers navigate the new normal as the world struggles through and emerges from the devastating effects of the coronavirus pandemic. Throughout the course of this crisis, the Gaming in Crisis webinar series will indeed chart a path back for all segments of the industry. Experts in their fields will examine each and every impact with opinions and suggestions on how we mitigate those impacts. Please mark your calendars for our next webinar in the series Design Changes. What will a casino resort look like in the wake of COVID-19? In 2 weeks, Thursday, May 28th at 2 p.m. By the way, following this webinar today, we will have SBC's digital networking event. You can register there later on. To help facilitate efficiently and respect your time, all participants will be on mute during the duration of this event. If you do have any questions, we would love to hear them. On the right side in the control panel, you do have a questions box. Please put your questions there, and if time permits, we will answer them during the webinar. If not, they will be answered post-webinar. Today's moderator is Roger Groh. I will now turn it over to Roger. He is from the Global Gaming Business Magazine to begin today's discussion. Roger, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Christina. When RMC, the Innovation Group, and GGB first began this series in early April, our goal was to provide timely feedback from diverse industry peers on how they and their organizations were managing through the COVID-19 crisis. In our first 3 sessions, I think we've achieved that. But all the sessions were to help people and companies navigate the negative impacts of the crisis. Today, we're focusing on one of the positive results, the growth of iGaming and the visibility it has received as an alternate form of revenue when no other funds are coming in. And while an important subset of iGaming, mobile sports betting, has been largely shut down, the online casino aspect has greatly expanded during this time. However, it didn't start with the crisis. iGaming revenues have been trending upwards for more than 2 years, but there is no denying that the stay-at-home orders have been helpful. New Jersey yesterday announced its gross gaming revenue for the online gaming industry in April, and it hit $80 million for the first time ever. It was $62 million in March when land-based casinos were open for half the month, and sports betting was operating for that time as well. So $80 million in April is almost all iGaming. Today's session, moving forward, iGaming in this COVID-19 era, brings together some of the most knowledgeable experts in the field and people who have been dedicated their careers to online gaming. So let me provide a little introduction and background to each of our presenters today. I've known and worked with Sue Schneider for more than 25 years now. Sue began developing her expertise from a small gaming publication in Missouri to become one of the most prolific conference developers in the iGaming field. Her show Gigsy was the premier exhibition and conference for the trade for many, many years. She has since helped dozens of conferences by organizing, speaking, and promoting. She now works for SBC, Sports Betting Community, a British-based company that has become one of the world leaders in sports betting information. Krešimir Spajek has cut his teeth on online gaming and sports betting in Europe, working for some of the largest and most successful firms on the continent. Now, as president of Hard Rock Interactive, Krešimir has developed a very different online gaming environment that reflects the Hard Rock attitude. Hard Rock Interactive recently introduced the industry's first live slot machines that allow remote players to play actual slot machines on the Hard Rock property in Atlantic City. And like Krešimir, Dermot Smurfit recognized early the potential for iGaming in the U.S. After establishing his expertise in online gaming in his native Ireland and throughout Europe, he founded Game Account Network, later shortened to GAN. Dermot and his team designed a proprietary platform that is flexible, innovative, and easy to use. And today, GAN is about to go public on the NASDAQ exchange. So we'd like to start with Sue Schneider, who will open the discussion and lay the groundwork for the webinar that you'll see today. Sue?
Thanks, Roger, and thanks to all of you for inviting me and to our listeners. What I wanted to do was to give you a little bit of history first. I think part of what we want to talk about is what the context is for online gaming, because U.S. has really come late to the party with this. If you look at the history, some of the very first online gaming sites were in 1996. Intercasino was the first online casino, and the first sports book was Intertops. They opened out of Antigua. In 1998, we began to see the poker trend, and Planet Poker was the first to open then. We saw a lot of other countries come online at one point. Australia in 2001 was one of the first, and theirs is for sportsbook only and remains that way. The UK started in online gaming in 2005. The U.S. took another tack in 2006 with the passage of a prohibition bill, the UIGEA, or Unlawful Internet Gaming Enforcement Act. But then we began to see things proliferate years later. And in 2013, Nevada licensed online poker sites. And New Jersey was the first to really open with all sorts of products. And since then, we've seen casino games go online. We've seen things like live dealer, fantasy sports, and obviously sports betting. And today is the 2-year anniversary of the Supreme Court decision. So we've come a long way in 2 years in that regard. Because of the overturning of the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act by the Supreme Court, we've seen a proliferation of states now get into sports betting. I think we're at 20 plus states plus the District of Columbia, and that number probably was on track to go another 5 or 7 more states this year potentially, but the state legislatures, number one, have been closed in many cases, and number two, have had their attention diverted into other more critical issues. So I want to talk a little bit about a couple of slides to show you what the growth has been, and our friends at Eilers and Krejcik have been very gracious with giving us some information on this. So the first is looking at the growth of online casino and poker revenues. Now, this is going across any of the states in the U.S. that have legalized it. You know, when we look at the states that have legalized, in particular the sports betting, you know, it's a pretty long list: Delaware, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Tennessee, Indiana, Iowa, Rhode Island, Oregon, New Hampshire, Illinois, Colorado, Michigan. We expect some more to come online. And that wasn't an exhaustive list, but it gives you the gist of it. So you saw what the growth was, and you've seen what happened in 2020 here so far with that very last, that last bar. So it's taken a hit, and that's, you know, that's what we're here to talk about today. So if I could have the next slide. What we're talking about is now looking at the growth of online as it relates to the last 3 months. Again, this is from Eilers and Krejcik. They show revenues across U.S. online casinos, and then what it meant in March. So you did see a sizable amount come up. And then in the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happened with online poker, which has probably been even a little bit more dramatic. So if we could have that slide, it might take a minute to come up. There we go. So poker has obviously, become a popular pastime. And in talking with other people in the industry, it's kind of interesting because I think in the past, the conventional wisdom is, for example, a lot of older people were not doing any kind of online gambling, but someone was joking around, but it's true that, a lot of older people now, if they want to talk to their grandkids, they're going to learn how to be on Zoom and they're going to get over whatever technophobia they may have had in the past. So it's been an opportunity where I think there might actually be some markets that would not have gotten into this, but are now finding that they can handle playing online. And I have one last slide to show. The April numbers just came out yesterday from New Jersey, and these are the year-on-year growth and declines. As you can see, then there were no in-person games because the casinos there were shut down really for the full month. Online poker had a very large increase over last year, as did the casino games, and the sports betting is down, and it's primarily, it's quite ironic, but we now have legal sports betting in 20 plus states, and we have no product for people to bet on. So we'll see what happens with that. But poker and online casinos have definitely been the big winners in this whole thing.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Kreshmir Spajic, the president of Hard Rock Interactive. Kreshmir?
Thank you, Roger, and thank you all for joining our webinar. So I would like to talk a bit about the history and the future of online gaming and how it looked and how it might look in the future. What's noticeable here, if you look at the slide that we are showing, is that everything started with online gambling in 2013 when Nevada, Delaware, and New Jersey regulated and started operating poker and online casino in these states. After that, in 2013, when I came to the US to help Boyd Gaming and Borgata to launch their operations, everybody thought that online casino is going to spread out like a flame. There is almost 1,000 brick and mortar casinos in the United States. 48 states have some kind of a regulated land-based form of the gaming, and everybody thought it would be an easy progression to getting more and more states. Unfortunately, we had to wait for 7 years until in 2019, Pennsylvania regulated as another state with online casino and poker. In comparison, if you look at the right slide of our operation, only in 18 months or 2 years since PASPA was repealed, we already have 18 states which have operational sports betting, either as a retail or as an online, and many more states which are pending launch or are about to regulate this. I personally believe that it has to do with sports being just more accepted into society, and therefore it's much easier to pass that legislation than it's to deal with an online casino. Can I have the next slide, please? So how the casino landscape looks like in the United States, how many operators are actually present, who is present, who are the competitors in the market. And here what you're looking at is results for the first 3 months of 2000, where you can look currently active states, which is New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Delaware. When we started this business 7 years ago, majority of the dominant operators in the casino industry were authentic brick and mortar brands. Since introduction of the sports betting, this has changed. Some of the new brands that have entered the market have leveraged their sports operation ability to acquire sports players and convert them in casino players. And currently on the top 3, you have FanDuel and DraftKings, which are not authentic brands, which are new brands in the market, focusing on daily fantasy sports, spend hundreds of millions of dollars building a sports brand, and being able to leverage this brand through cross promotion of their casino product to sports recently. In addition to them, you see some of the authentic brick and mortar brands which are dominant in or relatively profiled in a casino markets in which they have their brick and mortar properties. There are 4 key success factors in the casino. The one is brand, which you can either earn through legacy or you can spend enough money to build a brand. The second one is database that either can come from your brick and mortar database or you have to spend money to acquire. Third one is a product. And in casino, omni-channel product, which means connecting your loyalty program of brick and mortar and online is quite important. And the fourth one is marketing, efficiency in the marketing and willingness to spend money and wait for a longer time on return of investment. Currently, there are around 21, I believe, operators in the US. There are many more that are looking for an entrance. And if and when the new states open up with a casino, there will be many, many more coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Krešimir. And finally, we'll hear from Dermot Smurfit, the CEO of GAN. Dermot?
Thank you. And I've got a very specific slide here as a backdrop. I thought it'd be extremely useful to illustrate what happened during the month of March, specifically for one of our major clients of simulated gaming. And simulated gaming is one of the 2 main things we do here in the United States. We do real money internet gambling. Our technology platform is one of the reasons that the FanDuel Betfair combined group has been able to address the internet gambling market in New Jersey and then Pennsylvania. And most recently, we launched them in the state of Indiana. So real money gambling, of course, is what we do, and it's currently relatively limited in the number of individual states here in the US, but of course, we will expect continued rapid regulation of both internet sports and online casino. And I would strongly argue that we're going to see a lot more regulation of internet casino than perhaps we expected pre-COVID-19's pandemic, on the simple basis that the numbers are very hard to ignore. The New Jersey market, where we saw $80 million worth of internet gaming revenue in the last month that was reported yesterday, suggests that both the retail casino industry and the politicians in their states that they lobby for gaming expansion are going to be a lot more interested in trying to lobby for and succeed in getting internet casino gaming passed at the legislative level going forwards. Of course, that's all in the realm of speculation, but there's certainly a lot of evidence from our customers. We've actually moved online 14 major US casino operators over the last few years. We've been here in the US for nearly a decade, trying to convince people to move online, and trying to move online with something we call simulated gaming. And this simulated gaming product and service is what's displayed here on the slide that's visible to the audience. And simulated gaming is really a way of extending your relationship with the retail casino patron into the online channel. And of course, it's generally accepted that a lot of casino patrons are going home and playing online with major B2C social casinos, but that doesn't mean you can't have your own online relationship, sometimes years in advance of legislation changing, to allow you to launch a real money internet casino. So here's an example client. As we swept through March, they actually had to shut their retail casino, tragically, as did, I'm sure, very many executives listening on this call. And they saw a significant and immediate increase in online activity. We saw carded patrons signing up for the first time. We saw a lot of existing carded patrons who had been playing online, but not really spending a huge amount of time or money playing online, deciding to kind of significantly increase the amount of time on device through the mobile phones or desktop website usage. And I think the momentum shift of retail gambling into online gambling and even online social casino or simulated gaming has been widely reported in the industry. And simulated gaming is something that, if you have not yet launched your retail casino into the online channel, I would invite you to go and visit GAN.com, go and have a look at all the information we put out there, because we are trying to convince as many US retail casino operators as possible to move online now, well in advance of legislation, because you need to be ready for when internet gaming does come to pass. And as the #1 online gambling technology platform, we have all the technology skills and operating services to help you design, develop, and move online over time. But simulated gaming has experienced a significant shift in usage, and we've seen similar increases in real money online casino gaming throughout the month of March and in April, and continuing into May. And it is a tragic consequence of the retail casinos shuttering, and it's something that I think the industry going forward has got to generally accept that this is now a real risk, and that having an internet gaming experience, whether it's simulated or real money, is probably a new and essential part of your strategy going forwards. So GAN has been here in America for more than 10 years. I took the company public on NASDAQ just a few days ago. It's been extremely well received, and we hope that we'll have many, many more retail casino operators to move online over the course of the next decade to come.
Thank you, Dermot. Very interesting. I've know social casinos have been a very big part of online gaming, and I understand that from your discussion there, they're just as big as they are now. So I've got some questions for the panel, and we've got a few questions that have already been sent in by some of the listeners. So we would like you to enter the question into the question box, and we'll try to get to it as we will here. But I want to start with a question for Krešimir to begin with. And I want to talk about who the new players are who have really been signed up. Do you know who they are? You told me early on, Krešimir, that you got a lot of crossover from sports betting players into the casino. Has that been the case now? Or are these actually casino players who went searching out the casino experience online?
I think that this depends on the operator. Brick and mortar operators have a significant amount of their players, which now, when they are not able to play in our properties, they are converting online. There is kind of belief that around 30+% of the players coming in the last couple of months that sign up for online casino are actually regular brick and mortar customers. This is kind of what we've been discussing in the industry, but there is also new players. There are players that have more free time right now during the COVID, that people still have some disposable income, and people are looking to kill time and to spend that time somehow. So that's also one of the reasons why there is an increase in performance and amount of the activity on online gaming site. It's not only related to online gaming, it's related to streaming, it's related to any kind of the online games and any kind of digital activity, including online grocery ordering. The question is, will this continue after COVID and after we hopefully get back to normality? And I'm of belief that this won't go back. That activity that have moved online is going to continue, or at least majority of people that have been consuming activities online now and haven't before will continue doing them just because of the convenience that it provides.
Absolutely. I remember when poker really took off, when they had the whole card viewer, and poker really spiked then. But of course, then it kind of went back down, but it didn't go back down nearly as far as it had been. Is that the way you kind of expected to see it happening with the online gaming during this crisis?
Yes, I mean, we are seeing somewhat a bit of a slowdown in May in comparison with March and April, which is normal because majority of people who are highly interested have tried the products in the first couple of months, but growth is still there. And we are not seeing a lesser of activity. I think, and I've been always proponent of the online gaming, and I believe it's here to stay. It's a way for brick and mortar operators and everybody else to de-risk their revenues to their revenue stream. And I believe that at the beginning it was hard to convince especially brick and mortar operators that online gaming is good for them. There was a fear of cannibalizations at the beginning. There was unknown how to operate this product. But actually what we've been seeing, and aligned with what Dermot is saying, we are seeing high engagement or if you look at the simulated gaming, or how we call it social casino, there is a high engagement of our brick and mortar players with those type of games. Some players cannot visit our casinos every day. They can visit maybe only 2-3 times a month. During that time, it's very important that they stay in touch with our brand. So you can do this either via social casinos in the states we haven't regulated the real money gaming, or with real money gaming in New Jersey. It's also a different proposition. It's more convenient. It's accessible anywhere and anytime, which is not always the case with the brick and mortar casino, which you have to make an intentional trip to go there. So if to conclude, it's definitely here to stay. I hope that more states is going to recognize that this is a good thing, and it's a good thing because of several reasons. The first, right now we can expect a bit of a lower revenues in the brick and mortar casinos, and this will impact immediately the revenues that states is getting from the taxes. At the same time, there are thousands of the sites, offshore sites, which are targeting the US consumers, which we are not taxing, and which are not, and which players who are using those sites are not being protected. So there is lots of reasons for this to happen and to move forward with this.
Great. We have a question online that this gentleman wants a comparison between the numbers that the online casinos are posting, the increase versus the loss of the land-based casinos. And I think we can just look at New Jersey, what was announced yesterday. The overall total casino win in 2019 in April 2019 was 207 million. And the online revenue in 19 was about 30 million. And obviously there was no casino revenue in the live casinos for 2020. But in the online casinos, there's almost 80 million. So you can kind of get the balance there of exactly what happened during that time, and the percentage that online gaming really has replaced. So I want to ask the next question to Sue. Sue, when the registration process first went up in 2013 in the U.S., it was pretty clunky. We certainly had the geolocation nailed down, but when it came to IDs and deposits of wagers and that kind of thing, that was a little bit clunky. Has that changed over the past few years?
Yeah, I think it's gotten much more streamlined, and I think too, the operators have looked at how to try to consolidate a lot of that so that it's less burdensome on the player. But you have a variety of things that are mandated, whether it's anti-money laundering checks or ID verification, age verification, obviously the geolocation. So it is a situation where I think it's really gotten better, and it's probably will continue to get better and more integrated among all of those, so that you're not having to take a lot of time and attention to go through a number of different companies that provide different aspects of that.
Right. I still find it a little bit clunky in terms of deposits and withdrawals. Dermot, how is that being handled? Do you think that is becoming easier for players to deposit and withdraw?
Yeah, I mean, GAN's platform is the leading platform in the industry, and we've actually processed well in excess of $1.5 billion in online deposits into our clients' online gambling accounts for their end user gamblers. And it's been a remarkable journey in that when we first christened the market back in November 2013, when New Jersey launched, only about 25% of all the people who wanted to use their credit cards to fund their online gambling accounts were successful. It was terrible. Now contrast that to Europe back in 2014, where literally payments aren't an issue and 95% or more success rates. So we had this huge yawning gap between, well, 1 in 4 Americans were able to actually fund their online gambling account versus nearly 100% in Europe. So we spent years optimizing all the different methods by which Americans can put money from their kind of retail Wells Fargo bank account or credit card into their online gambling account. And it's been a real labor of love. And we're now on major sports day events, we're getting well in excess of 70% success rates, which really distinguishes GAN from many other technology platforms that are out there and active in the marketplace. Today, we kind of identify real innovators that work very closely with GAN, like Sightline. We think Sightline is a fantastic company that's been extremely innovative, working hand in glove with platform providers such as GAN. And we think, having looked at the averages over the last 2 NFL seasons, for example, we've seen our online gambling monetization rates increase substantially over the course of just the last 18 months as the volumes of internet gambling deposits have increased to the level where more and more financial services companies are interested in the opportunity to help online gambling operators operate more successfully by getting money transited from retail US bank accounts into online gambling accounts. So historically, it's been too small for many of the credit card issuing institutions to bother with, but these days, with the success, the phenomenal success that we've seen just over the last 2 years, as the internet gambling market's grown from $300 million roughly in 2018 to $800 million last year, and looks like this year we're going to blow the lid off all the expectations, in part because of the COVID-19 shift from retail into online gambling. So I think payment processing has still been one of the major impediments for a very, very long time, and one of the reasons why a lot of people in the industry, going back to 2014 and even 15, were largely dismissive of New Jersey and saying, gosh, look how desperate New Jersey was. They even had to regulate internet gaming, and that's going to be terrible for retail gaming. But the truth couldn't be further from that. Online gaming has been purely incremental to retail gaming. And if you look at the $80 million generated just last month, you've got an internet gaming market in New Jersey that's representative of about 40% of retail casino gaming in New Jersey. And that kind of speaks to where this industry is going to go to. Over time, there's going to be a lot of individual states that correctly and sensibly, logically regulate internet gaming. And internet gaming is going to be probably one of the biggest single growth opportunities for retail casinos to explore and support at the political, legislative, lobbying level. So internet gaming has kind of proven itself as being material and meaningful, particularly in this pandemic outbreak and all the social distancing requirements that are imposed on retail casino patrons. And I think we're just going to see a heck of a lot more of it over a reasonably short time period of the next 3 to 5 years.
Great. Kashmir, Hard Rock offers, I mentioned in the intro, in your intro, that Hard Rock was the first to develop the live slots, but you also offer the live table games. What appeal does that live aspect have for players?
It's definitely important. I mean, if you look at the Europe, live dealer now makes probably 60–70% of overall table game revenues, and it's kind of taking a more and more percentage of the overall slots play. Online casino industry is constantly looking for ways to evolve, appeal, and extend its reach and relevance to the audience. And we were always been proud of the innovation. And when we're looking into this and understanding that live dealer has such an importance in Europe, we are looking how we can create some similar experience with the slots. So we found a partner and work on something which we call live slots product, which actually allows online players to remotely play electronic gaming machines from a casino floor or studio in real time. We have initiated that product on February 10th in 2020 in New Jersey with the support of the regulator there. And since then, I mean, this product is providing us with incredible results. I mean, we see that it generates strong player acquisition and retention results, facilitate conversions of bricks and mortar players to online, especially those players which do not trust online play. What I wanted to say, it also, like, players, when they play, they describe it as a trustworthy, fun, and realistic. So for us, it has been a huge success because we are the only one currently that operate that product in the New Jersey, and innovation and offering something new for the players was very important. We are also having an ability to offer slot machines from a casino floor which are not available online at the moment. So we are the only one in the market currently offering Aristocrat slot machines which are not available online. So for us, it has been a full success, and we definitely plan to replicate this and use this in other markets that we plan to penetrate.
Great. So we have another question from online here, which I wanted to address anyway. So we'll get right to that. There's been a lot of concern that players, that online players are more vulnerable to the problem gambling issue. But I know there's been a lot of studies going on. What are some of the steps you take to kind of mitigate that issue, to make sure that problem gamblers don't participate online? And why don't you start with that, Dermot, and we'll pass it to Sue and then to Kreshmir.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Roger. So every individual state where we've deployed our real money internet gambling platform has got their own set of regulations for player protection. So our platform is now compliant with not just New Jersey regulations, which have evolved substantially over the last 7 years, but also Pennsylvania and Indiana. And in each individual state, they all have, I guess, one commonality, which is there is a central list maintained of problem gamblers who've self-excluded from retail gaming. And as an online technology platform, we have to query that as people try and sign up to play online and make sure that none of those individuals who have self-excluded are permitted to engage and open their online gambling account. So that's kind of the first part, and that's what all states so far have shared in common. Where they diverge is in setting out all the different requirements to be a technology platform provider in those states when it comes to player protection. And as a result, we've had to develop an extraordinary and extensive framework of player protection features and functions that are surfaced to the end user gambler, so that the individual player can set limits on, how much that they want to allow themselves to deposit online, or how many times they want to bet in a single day, or even the maximum bet value that they're allowed to place online at any time. So that there's quite a wide range of technical tools that we deliver to our clients, who then publish them or permit us to publish them on their websites or mobile apps that end user players can access. And player protection is very much at the heart of what we do, and having a platform like ours that is, operationally up and running and compliant with 3 states, and we're now looking at implementing the incremental player protection measures required by Michigan. So I think player protection, unlike arguably the European markets, player protection has been very strong in the United States since day one, in part because responsible gambling and player protection also sits at the heart of the way retail casino operators self-govern and operate within their own regulatory frameworks.
Sue?
Well, I think it's interesting for us to learn from other regions. As Dermot said, there are a number of issues that maybe haven't been handled well in other parts of the world, in the UK and Europe and Australia. And I think hopefully we will learn from watching them get clamped down on by regulators to be able to, take some corporate social responsibility measures up front, whether it's advertising, whether it's deposits, whether it's time of play. There's a whole range of things, and there are a lot of tools out there. I mean, the good news is that as the industry has developed, that there have been a number of folks on the problem gambling side of things and responsible gambling side of things that have developed some tools that can be made available to the players for themselves to be able to take things into account above and beyond the self-exclusion list. So, again, hopefully we will learn from how the industry in other regions have maybe not done things to the extent that they should, and we won't repeat those. We'll probably have another set of issues that we bring up, but hopefully we won't repeat some of those as an industry.
Kreshmir, I know New Jersey is very strict problem gambling regulations for the land-based casinos. Has that extended also to the online casinos?
Yes, it is, and I mean, as Dermot and Sue are saying, there are rules and tools, and it's up to every individual companies how to go beyond these rules and tools. For us, it's very simple. We are Hard Rock. We are one of the biggest entertainment and lifestyle company. Gaming is part of entertainment. We love our customers. We try to entertain our customers and keep them loyal. And that's the way how we approach to this. Churning and burning customers too quickly is not good for anybody in the business. You have to be careful. You have to use tools. You have to approach to the customers that you suspect that they have problems with the gaming. And this is how we approach to each and every customer individually. I think that US is far way ahead of where Europe has been. On the other hand, now Europe is imposing even more stricter measures than US, I believe, is currently having. Time will tell, but I think having a strict brick and mortar regulations have helped also online scenes to immediately introduce it and to follow those in the US.
Great. Great. Okay, let's go to the future of online gaming legalization in the U.S. You know, we've seen New Jersey, which has a pretty rational tax rate and regulations and fees, whereas Pennsylvania is pretty crazy as they are, even on the land-based side, in terms of their rate of taxes and fees. Which way do you think it's going to go as the new states come on? It looks like Michigan is pretty reasonable as well. Where do you think this is going? And let's start with you, Kreshmir.
Yeah, look, I think that what I'm seeing right now, based on the current regulations, I mean, it seems that kind of casino is much closely tied to the brick and mortar operation. And there is always kind of this conflict. If I'm taxing brick and mortar casino and certain percentage rate, can we tax with less or more the online casino? It's a very different business model. It's a very, very different proposition. There is lots of illegal competition from offshore that we have to take care of, and we cannot be put in a competitive disadvantage because otherwise you're going to demand the purpose of actual legalization. So I'm hoping that majority of the regulators are going to take a sensible approach. I hope that they're going to look at the best practices. There are quite a few studies that have been done so far in the US. We have now several examples of the states, both in the form of sports betting and casino. And I hope that we are going to find that reasonable ground which will enable regulators to generate taxes, to protect the consumers, but also to operators to offer a product that consumers deserves and rewards that consumer reserves, and ultimately be profitable. So I don't have kind of a correct answer, but I'm just hoping that we are going to proceed in a reasonable way, because otherwise this won't work for anybody. What though I can definitely say and think is, I was just reading a report from a couple of weeks ago from Morgan Stanley's public policy team that lots of states will have budget consideration. There will be some austerity measures. States will need to look for the new tax revenue generators, and 48 states in the United States have already regulated the land-based form of the gaming. So I think that casino is one of those that can quickly help regulators to achieve probably their main current priority, which is trying to kind of to fill that budget and funnel that money for those that are in need the most.
Great. Sue, what's your opinion on that?
Well, let me break it into pre-COVID and post-COVID, because I think pre-COVID, it was interesting to watch, because I think given the take up on sports betting, and particularly on the online side, for those states, most of the states went with mobile in addition, other than Mississippi and one or two others. I think there was a comfort level with online gambling that was developing that could have led, and still can lead, toward legalization of other products, whether it's casino games or poker. So I would say that to begin with. On the post-COVID side, I do think that states which have been hit with lack of sales tax revenue and other revenues are going to be looking for other revenue items. So this certainly may be an area that they may look to. But on the flip side of that, I think the concern is that it's also, even for those states that have already legalized it, this also could be a place that they look to jack up the tax rates to even get more. So I think people are going to have to be pretty vigilant and educate policymakers and legislators that, again, when it comes to things like sports betting, where most of them are right now, that you have such a small profit margin that if you start, increasing the tax so much to try to make up for some other lost revenues, that it's going to not be commercially viable. I think when Pennsylvania first proposed I think it was 34% tax rate, I believe, on sports betting, everybody thought, oh, who's even going to apply for that? Well, clearly they've applied, and there are some very successful experiences there. So it'll be interesting to see, but, I think it's going to be incumbent. I know we have a number of state casino associations and gaming associations that are part of this and are supporting this particular one. So you guys are going to have to be very vigilant and make sure that there's a lot of good education when they come back into session.
Great. Yeah, I went to a sports betting conference in September, and I asked a company that was active in Pennsylvania, how do you make money there? And he never answered my question. So Dermot, you've got some views on this too. Explain what you think about this.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. So it's very interesting that there seems to be an overly simplistic view about internet sports and internet casino, and too little understanding exists in the industry, in my opinion, as to the extraordinary cross-sell benefit. As we've seen 30%, actually more than 30% of all internet sports gamblers cross over the virtual threshold and start gaming inside the online casino. And if you present it properly and embed casino games in the user interface or mobile app of a sports gambling operator's system, then you can get extraordinary cross-sell. So I think the way both politicians look at it and model out the tax revenue opportunity, and to a lesser extent retail casino operators look at it, it is a lot more complicated. You're going to get relatively modest economics from sports gamblers. There's a lot of them. It's a very mass market activity, but the real profit center, very much even in Pennsylvania, but certainly over the last 2.5 decades in Europe, the real profit center of any internet sports gambling business has been the online casino. Sports gambling operators have to be permitted to launch an online casino if they're not just going to scale sports betting revenues, but generate profitability. And if you look at the Pennsylvania tax rate, you're basically paying 41 cents on the dollar on sports betting revenue. And in order to make any significant contribution to your profitability, all the sports operators are very likely leaning on or relying strongly on the cross-sell from sports gamblers into the online casino, where the tax rate is, on a blended rate average 30 to 32 cents on the dollar. So I think there's too little focus on, let's regulate internet sports betting, and you can do that, but I suspect the real economic opportunity has to flow from the online casino. And we've seen West Virginia add online casino kind of tacked on after they've chopped enough wood to get sports online regulated. And I suspect we'll see a lot more of the states that are already contemplating and having legislative bills to permit internet sports betting now changing their tune substantially and deciding, let's chop the extra little bit of wood now and get online casino added on day one, as opposed to kicking the can down the road. Very much, as Sue said in this post-COVID-19 environment. And I think the reality check is going to be supported by the sheer scale of the numbers coming out of markets that demonstrate the power of online casino when it's conjoined or bolted on the side of an online sportsbook.
Great. Well, let's stick with you, Dermot. I want to talk about how you built your platform. You spent a lot of time and money building the platform. Seemed to be mostly specifically for the U.S. Why did you take that path to begin with?
There's a gentleman who I will finger in public called Mr. Robert Norton, who's the president of Cordish Gaming, a major retail casino operator in multiple different states. And of course, they operate many more commercial entertainment properties above and beyond that. Rob was a gentleman who I had dinner with at G2E in 2010. It was very much my first series of meetings in the US. I was trying to figure out, how relevant could the US be to GAN? And Rob turned to me over dinner and said, Dermot, I'm going to make my problem your problem, which is, I'm a young executive here in the retail casino industry, and I'm convinced that the internet can be highly relevant to my retail gaming operations. I just haven't figured it out yet. So I'm going to give you that problem to figure out. And really from that conversation, we designed, developed, and delivered simulated gaming as a way of moving retail casinos online and leveraging one of their core assets, not just their brand and their patron database, but their loyalty program. And we were the first company in the US to integrate our internet gambling technology system with a retail loyalty rewards program. And that proves incredibly powerful at competing in the online channel when you're up against these thousands of standalone social casinos that you can download from the App Store, or even skip forward a few years when you've launched a real money internet casino. We actually saw in Pennsylvania, we saw about 30% of all online gaming accounts created in Pennsylvania linked to their corresponding on-property rewards account, and that group has proven to be one of the most valuable groups of online players as online gambling has matured very, very quickly in the state of Pennsylvania since launch in early summer of last year. So I'm a big believer that we simply solve problems, and the thousands of individual problems that we've solved for our clients, our retail casino operator clients, have kind of driven our technology strategy. And we came to the US and launched online in 2013 in New Jersey. And since then, we've delivered an extraordinary range of optimizations in order to power some of the leading internet gambling websites that are out there in the marketplace today. But if you aren't online, and as a general message to the audience, and if you're in a state where you don't see regulation coming to pass anytime soon, I would still greatly encourage you to move online with simulated gaming or another social casino offering. And if you do take a look under the hood of simulated gaming, you will see that you will greatly reduce your patrons' promiscuity in the online channel. You'll actually see your hardcore gamblers, your highest value gamblers, come back and visit you on property more often as a consequence of engaging them online. I'm sure Kresimir has seen this with his own offering, but by extending your brand reach and your relationship with your carded patrons into the online channel, you have the exceptional opportunity to retain them and make them more loyal when they come back to the property more often.
Great. We have about 10 minutes left. I want to get to a couple more questions here. And first, I want to address the tribal gaming issue. There's probably a big problem with them being left behind here. And Kresimir, you work for a company owned by one of the largest tribes in the U.S., a Seminole tribe. You've got a property. They've got a property in California as well, but there's no iGaming there. How do you think the tribes can advance into real money online gaming without really impacting their brick and mortar operations, which of course is what they're worried about?
Seminole is a very progressive tribe. They already like 10, 12 years ago, they started looking into the online gaming, created an internal internet gaming committee, looked at a variety of options, and then 4.5 years ago hired me to set up this division between the Seminole and Hard Rock International. So I think that they have been committed for a long time. At the same time, also in the past 4.5 years, they have learned the value of online gaming and what it brings to them. Definitely an extension of the engagement of the players and creating as many touch points as we can with the players has been working for us really well. Having an ability to have a single loyalty program is very important, especially in the kind of a world of the hard rock where we operate hotels, casinos, restaurants, live event centers, and having an ability to turn different loyalty points and exchange these points for anything within our universe was very important. So for us, it's really a very clear strategic decision. We want to be in this space. We plan to be one of the biggest players in this space in the United States, and there is no looking back. We are just hoping that more states are going to adopt the legislation that we fully support.
Dermot, I know you work with tribes setting up, social casinos for them. How do you think they would respond to legalization of iGaming?
I think Native American casino operators, and we've moved 7 of them online over the last few years for simulated gaming. I think a lot of them are moving online principally with simulated gaming to get ready for real money gaming. So I think there's definitely an attitude amongst the larger casino operators that they know it's coming and they need to get ready for it. And then simulated gaming is just one way to kind of bridge the gap. I think from a technology standpoint, I think a lot of Native American casino operators have properties in regions where it may be difficult to find the right digital specialists, particularly marketing specialists, to come and work on property and help build the internet gaming businesses of the future. So that's where GAN offers a range of professional services to help our Native American casino clients at least go through the process of setting up, training, and launching, and then supporting them with various different, either first-line customer support or even digital marketing support to upskill and train the existing marketers who are employed and work on property. So we tend to do more than just the technology, and I think tribal casinos need to be properly supported, not just given technology and good luck, walk away, but to be given the comprehensive guide to setting up and launching and growing, particularly critical at the early stages of an individual state's market commencing a profitable, significant internet gaming business.
Sue, I want to talk about the competition with lotteries. We've seen lotteries go online in unprecedented numbers these days, and a lot of them are just selling tickets, but also some of them are starting to offer like online games that look very much like slot games. And I know in Pennsylvania, there's been some conflict there, Michigan, and some of the other states. How do you think this is going to play out in terms of casinos having a monopoly to online casinos in states, and then lotteries trying to co-opt that?
Well, I think it's going to vary state by state. I mean, you have, look at Oregon now. The lottery is the one that operates their sports betting. So I think you're probably going to have, I don't know how many states there are that have lotteries. It's the bulk of them, but you're probably going to have just that many different permutations of how this might work out. What I haven't seen yet is anybody trying to do anything cooperatively, really, with that. So it'll be interesting to see if anything like that, if there's any kind of partnerships that could happen. But yeah, I think that continues to be a point of contention, and I don't really see that getting resolved anytime soon.
Okay. How about competition with lotteries, Dermot? Do you see that as a kind of a big point between casinos and the states?
Yeah, I mean, I think casino operators are, including some of our clients, are correctly furious, and there's a degree of legitimacy in their fury, because the definition of online lottery ticket sales has been stretched to an extremity. And if you just experience some of these online scratch cards, they are eerily, spookily similar to the entertainment experience offered by traditional online slots or traditional slots in the retail casino property. So I'm not necessarily surprised at the outbreak of litigation in Pennsylvania, as the retail casino operators have banded together and correctly tried to shut it down. As to whether or not they'll be successful, only time will tell. But you will get this, dynamic tension at the macro level of states where you have an online lottery system, as well as kind of incremental or new online gaming legislation. There will be a degree of competition, and you can't blame any economic stakeholder trying to expand the size of their economic pie, but I think there will be more outbreaks of tension, which may result in high drama legislation over the years to come.
Okay, great. All right, one more quick question. If you can give me one minute on this final question. Do you think that this upturn in iGaming will be able to proliferate as we get back to normal with the casinos reopening, the land-based casinos? Do you think iGaming will continue to stay up there and be an important part of the strategy for casino companies and states? And so let's start with you, Sue, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I think at least in the short term, I mean, there are a number of people, our state in Missouri opened up about 10 days ago. And frankly, even though many of the, retail types of operations have opened up, many haven't. And there are many consumers who are taking a wait and see attitude. So I think at least in the short term, if you're looking at least through the end of the year, that will continue. Beyond that, it depends on how much they learn to like it and how they're catered to.
Okay, Kashmir?
I believe, and I stated this earlier in this call, there is no way back. I mean, we are consuming more and more things online. It's just the way how people are dealing with the things right now. I also believe that back to normal won't happen in a short period of time. And I think that online there is to stay. How fast it will grow, that's to be seen. But I definitely don't see it retracting.
Okay. And finally, Dermot.
Yeah, I think it's very much here to stay, but let me explain why. Because it's actually quite a nuanced answer to the question. You've got since launch of real money gaming in a state like Pennsylvania, you've actually had a large number of retail casino patrons who've obviously become aware quite quickly that there's the ability to do online gaming now. And a large number of them will have gone, gosh, this is all very complicated. I've got to spend 3 or 4 minutes creating my online gambling account, and I've got to go through the complicated process of putting money into that account. And some of them simply will open their account but never get around to depositing money. And we've seen a lot of those gamblers, now that the retail gaming opportunity is closed to them, decide to grit their teeth and tough it out, and then finally get money into their online account and start online gaming. And then we've seen another group of carded patrons who already kind of created their account online, already put money into it, and they've given a small proportion of their overall wallet into the online channel. And on the back of the retail casino shutting, they've decided, okay, they're going to put a much bigger share of their existing wallet in favor of the online, because although they'll always prefer to go to the retail casino and spend the bulk of their time and therefore money in the fabulous retail gaming environments of America, while it's shut, they're prepared to kind of shift a significant proportion of that spend in favor of their favorite local casino that they attend on a very frequent basis. So I think it's slightly more nuanced than the simple statement of, yeah, retail gamblers are moving online. I think you've got a large degree of kind of wallet share shifting around. You've got a very significant number of retail gamblers who were inexorably but slowly moving online anyway, who greatly accelerated that shift. And I like to characterize it as 5 years of change in the space of 5 weeks. And I think once a retail gambler has created an online gambling account and has put money into it, then they've kind of gone through the most important step of the onboarding process, and they will continue to gamble online from time to time, no matter the reopening of the retail casino property. So hopefully that gives you a slightly more nuanced view of what's going on out there.
Great. Well, I want to thank our participants, Kreshmir, Sue, and Dermot. Great job. I really enjoyed your insight, and I'm sure our listeners did too. We didn't answer all the questions that came in, but we'll endeavor to do that in the near future here. So you can come back to casinowebinar.com and check that out. So again, thanks for joining us, and don't miss our next webinar on May 28th. It's design changes. What will a casino resort look like in the wake of COVID-19? Michael Soul from the Innovation Group will be moderating it, and we got some great speakers in mind. So check that out pretty quickly. And finally, if you want to register for the SBC Digital Networking event, which will start immediately following this, you can follow the link there and sign up. And I know Sue's going to be there, so I'll try to be there as well. So again, thanks everybody for coming. And Christina, you want to wrap it up?
I think you covered everything, Roger, so I appreciate that. Just continue to monitor casinowebinar.com for upcoming webinars, as well as today's recording and the slide deck from the presentation. This concludes us, and so maybe we'll see you at the SBC Digital Networking event. Otherwise, we'll see you next webinar on May 28th. Thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful day.